Hello, my name is Eric Deloach. I'm a book author and also I'm host of American Authors and Others. And we have a returning guest. Remember, this guest was highly recommended and he had such a great, in addition to that, had such a great video and such a compelling story that, you definitely have to bring someone like this back. So with no further ado, just let him introduce himself and we'll continue kind of where we left off at.
Yes, Dr. Lyman Montgomery, native of Dayton, Ohio, currently residing in Indiana. I am a life business coach as well as best-selling international author, trainer, and conference host. And one of the things that I really enjoy is helping people to monetize their gifts. So we have a program called Monetize Me. And part of what we do in our company, Focus Driven Lifestyle Coaching, which I'm the president and CEO, is to help people take their gifts, their talents, their knowledge, and their experiences and show them how to have a predictable six-figure or more income. And we have some people that's doing that on a monthly basis, majority doing it on a yearly basis. And then we have those in between. We have some that say, for example, that come to us and they say, listen, if I could make an extra $5,000 a month, and then when they're making $10,000 a month, they're like, oh my God, this is great. And so we use a lot of unconventional strategies to help our clients to achieve their life goals. And basically it's three simple principles: focus, prioritize, and achieve. And I'm sure we'll get more into that simple formula that you focus on what you want. The problem is, Eric, is so many people focus on what they don't want. Okay. So if you ask a person, tell me a little bit about what you want in life, they start telling you all the stuff that they don't want. Okay. And what that does is condition the brain to look for the things that they don't want, and they focus all their attention on what they don't want. I don't want to be hungry. I don't want to live in pain. I don't want to be broke. And they never get to the other side of the equation. So life is choice driven. And so whatever you do on one side, you have to balance out on the other side. And so if a person is always talking negative and they don't balance it out with positive, matter of fact, studies have shown for every one negative thought, it takes 5 to 7 positive thoughts to cancel out that one. So you have a 1 to 7 ratio between our negative thoughts, our negative beliefs, and our negative conversations. And a lot of times, just think about it. One of the things I tell my clients when it comes to focusing, stop watching the news. For 60 days, don't watch the news. Wow. And they look at me and they say, what? What do you mean don't watch the news? Because think about it, what do you hear on the news? Right. What's going wrong? The economy is bad. People are dying. People losing jobs. And so it's not, and then they might throw in, they show you 70 negative things. And then they say, oh, by the way, we got a 2-minute encouragement of something good. But right. Your mind has been bombarded with all this negativity. Listen right. to the songs. You right. know, I have a good friend who's completely indecisive. The reason being she listens to music that creates indecisiveness and uncertainty. Right, if you listen to it, there's nothing against the blues. There's nothing against jazz, okay? But if you're listening to music, I don't care if it's jazz, blues, gospel, reggae, hip hop, rap, whatever, country, western. But if you're listening to a song that says, my mama gave me up on Monday, okay? My brother kicked me in the shin on Tuesday. My grandma disowned me on Wednesday. My girlfriend left me on Thursday. Right. Friday, I got fired. Saturday, right. My beer was cold. And Sunday, the church was closed. If you're listening to that, then just think what that does to your mind. It creates what's called neural pathways. And you begin to, the Bible says this way, as a person thinketh, so are they. So what you focus in on, you will become majority of the time. If you listen to negative, if you hang around negative people, then guess what? Les Brown said this once. Les Brown said, if two people are walking together, either one or two things will happen. Either they will adjust to your pace or you will adjust to their pace. And the
Okay.
question becomes, which pace are you adjusting to? Are you allowing people to adjust to your pace, or are you constantly adjusting to someone else? So that's the first part about being focused. And focus, for those of you who don't know, is nothing more than the ability to direct your attention towards something or someone. That's all focus is. So
Right.
what are you directing your attention? We have two types of focusing mechanisms.
What
We
was
have,
no,
yes.
continue. You do those two, then I want to go ahead.
We have two types of focusing mechanisms. Intentional, where we give concerted thought and energy to focus our energies or our direction or our attention towards something. And then there's unintentional, like if we hear a loud noise, or we see a flash of light, our body automatically will turn in the direction of the light and the noise, or someone, we see it on our peripheral vision. Someone walks up behind us and the hair stands up on the back of our neck, right? And so all this is important in understanding, how do you get individuals to focus in on what they should be so that they can pull into their life what they want and repel the things that they don't want. And the key is, stop focusing on what you don't want and begin focusing on what you do want in life. Even if it's book sales. You see, I never set out to say, oh, I'm afraid I'm not going to sell any books. You know what I said? Before I wrote the first book, I said, I am a destined best-selling international author.
Wow.
I put it up 6 months before the book came out. I said it every day. I began to see myself as a published author. I began to see myself as a self-published author. I began to see myself as one who could sell not hundreds of books, hundreds of thousands of books, and receive royalties every single quarter from book sales. And then I took it a step further. Not only did I want to become a best-selling international author, but I said, what else can I do? How can I leverage my book to become my business card? And when I began to think in those terms, the world opened up to me and success followed.
Okay, well, that was powerful. that was powerful, people. So you look for more of that in some future videos, but I want to kind of segment here and kind of get us back to where we were before. But
yes,
I think it's important for people to hear those two scriptures that you used last time about the a vision and something. And
yes, two very powerful scriptures. Number one, in the book of Habakkuk in the Old Testament, God tells Habakkuk, who's the prophet at that time, he says, listen, write the vision, but not any vision. He said, God is very specific. God is a great publisher, right? And he gave great instructions. Number one is a 3-point plan that every author uses or should use. He said, number one, write the vision. It can't just reside in your head. You have to put it on table. The second, he said, make it plain. Sometimes people, they write in a way that the common person cannot understand it, okay? It's the difference between what we call textbook academic writing and those that write books for common or general consumption. As you know, most newspapers are written on a 5th or 6th grade level. So what God is saying, number one, not only write down what your vision is, but make it plain. The third thing he says is this: even though it waits, it tarries, which means to wait, be patient, because your words on the paper will speak. And that's what a book does. A book speaks to the heart and to the minds of those who read it, so that they can do what? So they can run with your vision. So what I tell people is, you want to have a runaway, what we call a runaway best-selling book. What that simply means is this: when a person reads your book and they are captivated, and that story takes them on a journey. Most people write what they call the hero's journey.
Right.
Or depending on whatever type of techniques you use. But let's just say, for example, the hero's journey, right? Where there's some type of big letdown and there's some type of mentorship. And then there's a big battle. And then at the end, the person wins the girl or gets the house or saves the family or whatever it might be. Movies and books pretty much follow that hero's journey sort of format. And so what God was saying is, listen, if you want people to run with your vision, you have to make it plain and understand that it's going to take time. The mistake that a lot of people make is they write a book and a week later they're upset when they don't have any reviews. They're upset when they don't have any sales other than, mama and cousin Luke and a few friends, right?
Right.
Though the vision tarries,
Right.
wait for it shall speak and not lie.
Right.
If you have been true to yourself,
Right.
and that's where the part that says it shall speak and not lie has to do with marketing.
Right.
Who is your book for? For
Okay.
example,
right.
The book that you see in the back, Focus-Driven Lifestyle.
Right.
It's not written for everyone. Okay. It is written for people who suffer with procrastination. Is written for business leaders and entrepreneurs that are highly distracted with SOS, shining object syndrome.
Okay.
So if you're not easily distracted, if you don't deal with procrastination, you probably would walk past the book, but
right.
that's okay. So I think sometimes people, they want to write a book. They say it's for everybody. Well, it cannot be for everybody. Right. The second scripture that I think I referenced is, you have not because you ask not. And when you did, you ask amiss. And what that means is Jesus is saying, listen, you don't know what you're asking for. And you're not specific in what you're asking.
Right.
So this goes to advertising.
Right.
See, God's a business person. It's a business entity.
Right.
Everything you see in scripture relates to business. Seed, time, and harvest. You plant it. That was the agricultural economy at that time.
Right.
You get some seed, you plant the seed. There is a time period. Now, the problem is we read that as one sentence, seed, time, and harvest. Rather than putting a comma in there to say you plant a seed, which is you germinating your thoughts in your mind, right? Right. Those are the seeds. Those ideas are seeds, right? Now you take those seeds and you commit it to paper. That's the ground. The paper becomes the ground in which you nurture your seed of your mind, the seeds of your idea. And then there's the planting. This is when you go through the whole publishing process, right? Right. Then there's a time period. You don't plant a seed on Monday and go out there looking for a harvest on Tuesday. You have to understand that there's going to take time. There are cycles within harvest, okay? Then there's a harvest time. There's a time when that book is going to be released. Now you have to figure out, how do I harvest the sales of the book? So most people that write a book, they understand the seed. They take the seed from their ideas, they put it on paper, which is the soil. They publish a book, but they don't know how to harvest it. How do I harvest the rewards?
Let's leave him cliffhanger. Big. Okay, so woo, y'all go. Whoa, he's on fire right out the gate. So let's go here to kind of just put some context on it. Yes. Prior to us starting, the interview, we had a chance to chat, and he brought up some numbers of publishers that are in pursuit of him. Usually the other way around. The book author and the agent will be in pursuit of publishers, but because he did such groundbreaking work and has been exceptional in his delivery and sale of books, somewhere in the neighborhood of 180,000 plus books. And let's just say this, people, if you did, let's just move it up to 200,000. If you got a profit of $10 per book, that's $2 million you just made. $2 million. I hope you people are listening of what his capabilities have been, and they're gonna just go to a whole nother level past that going forth. But just tell them so they can get an understanding of the money connected with it. What were these publishers? What were they offering? And of course, and you did turn them down, but just kind of
turn them down. I will actually submit, because I believe in verifying everything. I've had traditional publishers reach out to me, I mean, big name publishers through their agents reach out to me and said, we've read your book. We want to enter into negotiations to purchase your book, and God is my witness on this. Between the lowest was $50,000 for the rights, all the way up to $150,000 advance. Because what happens with traditional publisher is they will advance you based on what they determine the sales are. Okay. Right. So in their mind, they're looking at, and there's not even the second, they look at the first book, Shattered Mask. Right. Okay. Of saying, listen, that book did so well internationally and got such great reviews. What they wanted to do was to fly me out to New York, or have my agent fly out to New York, or my attorney fly out to New York. And what they had on the table was $80,000 to $150,000. There were two bidding, and I turned them down. This is why I turned them down.
Wow, let's listen.
Is that if they valued the book at an advance of $85,000 to $150,000, all right, but I've already sold over 180 plus, probably close to 185,000 on my own, that's not money to me. The other reason that I turned them down, Brother Eric, right, is three things that most people don't know happens when you give up your rights to your book. Number one, you lose all creative control of the book. Number one, they could take the book, take your face off the cover, put somebody else you don't even know. They can change the title of the book. They can rewrite the entire book that when you read it, you're saying, I don't even recognize this. So number one, you lose control. Second, it is an estimate of what they believe the book sales are. So let's say, for example, I accept $150,000 as an advancement, right? Let's say the book does $3 million with their machine behind it. I lost out big time. So they're like, wow, we paid Lyman $150,000, but we made $3 or $5 million. Okay. The other thing that you lose is the right for that book to be optioned as a movie. So if you notice, a lot of movies, they will say based on such and such book, right? But you don't own the book. So do you have a right now to the movie options? No. So all you got basically was $150,000 for your labor, for your idea, and they turn around and make millions off of it. So I wasn't willing to give that up.
This is a game changer, people. Game changer.
You see, but some people, they just like, oh man, I need the money.
I need the money back.
Right? But what they don't understand is that $150,000 is minus other things. Number one, the tax man is going to come in and get their share of it, right? Not only that, you also lose out on the royalties. Right. Right. So to me, I think the best game in town is self-publishing. Now,
you heard it, people.
Listen to me carefully. If they come to you and they got a $5 million check, take the check. All right. All right. But anything less than $1 million, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. And even at $1 million, I probably would say no. Okay. 2 to 3, 5 million. Okay, we at least in the room to negotiate. But I would not give up all control. I would probably, knowing how my brain works, I would try to figure out some type of joint venture of saying, listen, we can become, let's do a 70-30, all right, where I retain at least 30% and the rights to options
Okay.
if the book is turned into a movie. Like my first book, as I mentioned before, was optioned as a movie on my own.
Well, let's stop from there. 'Cause I mean, we're gonna get into that in the next video. I just want people to see who you're talking to. I want you to see that you're really talking to somebody that is, you can basically say is an expert in independent book sales. I just want you to understand what you're dealing with. Okay, this is not just a fly by night author. Oh, that sold, the average is maybe 200, I mean, maybe 100 books or 150 books, and that's pretty,
Yeah,
that's the average.
a good author is considered a good self-published author, someone who sells between 1,000, and you consider excellent, you can sell 5,000. Okay. Right. The mere fact of doing the numbers that I've done, but there's a system to it. I'm sure we get into that system. Right. If not on this, but on another show.
Next, we want to get, we don't, but and if we recall, audience, he had told us. Now the average, if you look, average and most, I mean average. We're not even talking about good. We're talking about average. It's about 150 books sold. So that's nothing. Okay. And why? Because when overseas, he mentioned to us last time, he had one person that wanted to turn it into a textbook and ask for permission. 200 books. So he beat the average people with one customer. The average of all book sell people that people normally sell with one person. Okay, so and what is that? I don't know the math on that, but anyway, that's not the point. Let's get back into that very powerful story, and then we will. It's a cliffhanger in terms about the books. Okay, we'll get back into that. In fact, I had a very powerful person with an organization told me she watched the video and we got to the end of the video and she said, "Oh no, they stopped it." That's what she told me. A very powerful person. We won't mention the name. That's in New York. Okay, so that you know that has a world organization. Told me that they watched the video and they would put on the cliffhanger. So here we go. But let's get into get back completely on track. Wanted to start like that, but you're at the master's program. You finished the second master's in HR, and you're at the point now, roughly what, 42, something around there, and you have the first book out. Let's go there. What's happening? When you start to see this success, when you had thought, okay, if I did this, you told your wife at the time, this could be negative. I know everybody wants you to push it, but what happened when you had 4 weeks in a row in the UK with a Caucasian audience, not a right. African American audience, but a Euro Caucasian audience that the place blew up all over the country. What went through your mind then?
I couldn't believe it. It was surreal because in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm getting asked to do interviews in the UK. They don't know me. And then from there, it just grew to where churches was calling, organizations were calling, saying, "Oh my God, Lyman, we have people in our organization that are struggling not just with sexual addiction or sexual molestation, but dealing with sexual addictions, dealing with chemical addiction. Do you have a program that could speak to that and use the book sort of as the curriculum for that?" And I wrote this program called Shatter Your Mask. And that really when I began to think differently, that the first book, Shattered Mask, 7 Masks That We Wear, was actually a program in and of itself.
Let me just interject this. I think I don't want to miss this opportunity for a gem. Now, we know that the economic, the financial, the profit engine monster that took over, that kicked in, okay? But when you saw this success, was there some confirmation? Was there some therapeutic positive results that freed you of years of
Yes.
being in the bird in the cage?
Yes, I would say probably after I did the 4 weeks of the UK, we did a virtual UK sort of tour on the radio stations there, that it dawned on me that I was onto something. Also, friends start, texting me saying, from high school, I didn't even know they had the book.
Right.
My God, I never knew this, Lyman. Like man, this is a movie. People start saying they saw it as a movie.
And this
It read like a movie.
Now, I have to. Was this prior to? Was this also going on when you thought that you were getting a fake scam offer that people would? What they were just regular lay people were just saying, "Oh, this."
Yeah, they
is
were just lay people.
And this
that,
and
because
at
what?
and at the same time, this had to interject. Sorry, was this guy, the film guy, was actually pursuing you, but you still didn't believe it quite at that time.
Yeah, this is years later. The film guy came years later.
Okay.
And so what happened is that people would read my book and they would pass it to a family member.
Okay.
Then the family member would read it. They would give it to a coworker.
Okay.
Then the coworker would read it. They would give it to a pastor or someone. The pastor would call my office and say, "Hey, we would love to have you come and speak to our men's group." An organization would get, I would always ask, "How did y'all get?" Then the book ended up in a library. Wow. And I would have people call me and say, "I checked out your book at the public library."
And that's without your efforts.
Without my efforts. Without my effort. I learned later on that librarians will do a search and they will purchase. Here's another nugget. Libraries will purchase in volume books to go in their library system. And so I got a phone call from people from New York, Los Angeles, Boston. And I'm like, "How you guys get my book?" "Oh, it's at the library. It's at the local library." One young man called me up in tears because he said, "You just told my story and you don't even know me. But what you wrote about happened to me."
Wow.
And when I would meet and I would speak all over the country, and I would have my book table there, the number of men or the number of men's wives that would come up to me and say, "Thank you. This is my husband's, or this is my brother, or this is my nephew, or this is my close friend story. And you spoke to him, or you spoke to what I as a spouse was suffering in silence." And that book became, and still is, somewhat of a support mechanism to get men, especially men of color, to begin talking about issues in their own life. And a lot of it was not necessarily sexual.
Go ahead.
But the mask that they were wearing.
Right.
I've had people come up to me and say, "I've been in a secret affair for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And this book helped me to shatter that mask."
Okay.
To come clean. All sorts of different stories and testimonials from that. And all I did was just be honest, tell the truth, and put a little bit of what I understood at the time as far as how to market the book. And I used, as I mentioned before we came on, I broke every rule in traditional marketing of a book, and it worked.
Okay, great. So let's say, for example, when you were at a church, and let's remind the people again that it really went haywire in the UK.
In the UK first.
So, yes. So that's predominantly a Caucasian audience. Okay, I want for people, and everybody knows that. Okay. So, but when you went to a regular church or whatever, and these people came to your table or whatever the case may be, and shared these stories, what was going through your head then? What did you feel? And I got a second part of the question.
Yeah. What I felt in those, go ahead.
Okay. What did you felt then? And the second part of the two-part question, twofold question, when you shared it with your wife, with your daughter, or with your friend that co-worker that worked for you, what were their impressions? But let's go first into what you felt, what hit you then, and stay with you, stuck to you and stuck with you. And what did people, your support group around you, what did they feel when they saw this success and saw people really being touched? Not just the monetary success, but that people were really touched.
Yeah. It was such a humbling experience. And then there was a sense of guilt. I'll be honest with you, there was a sense of guilt because I felt like I should have told the story 10 years or 15 years earlier.
Okay.
That because I was hiding behind the mask of silence, that untold hundreds, thousands of people were being affected. And here it is, I've been set free from the prisons of that bondage in my mind, and yet I wasn't sharing that story with anyone. So I felt this great sense, on one hand, of release, but also a sense of guilt that I had to deal with, because when you hear about someone going through it, or have recently gone through it, and you're saying to yourself, my God, if I had only reached out and did something soon. I think everyone goes through that you wish you had done it, but you also have to understand that I believe the core is the book came out when it was supposed to come out.
I believe,
and that's the solace that I have, is that even though I wish that I had spoken out decades earlier when the abuse happened to me and I didn't, I also understand, again, going back to seed time and harvest, is that all things happen in divine time and in divine order. I truly believe that. And that the book was for a time such as this, to prepare people that this is a real issue, especially within the African-American community. We don't talk about it. Very few write about it, let alone speak about it. And if God was going to use me as a voice piece, that I would be completely transparent and honest about not just the tragedy, but how to turn those tragedies I mentioned before into strategies so that you can be successful. Now, as far as Mark Anthony Garrett, my family, they were not surprised. Mark was so supportive. He still is. Mark Anthony Garrett, the one who also, we had the same sexual perpetrator who really pushed me to write the book. He just said, it's about time.
Okay.
And we hugged and we cried, and he was just saying, I'm so proud, man, that you did it. He said, I'm so proud that you did it. Family members, they were torn. On one hand, they, as I mentioned, my mom, we don't talk about the book. It's too painful for her.
Understand.
Because, I'm her baby.
Right.
But my siblings, they were like, oh my God, some of the people that you don't name, I know who these people are.
Right.
Oh my God, I know that person.
Right.
And so they were shocked.
Right.
But they were also very proud that I finally had the guts and the courage to speak out. Now, one of the things that's interesting.
Now, what about your wife and your?
And my wife, yes.
And
my
your
wife,
daughter.
she was very supportive from the beginning. She was supportive at the beginning.
Your daughter.
My daughters, it's interesting. My baby girl, Marlea.
The one that found it.
Yeah, she's the one that found the manuscript and read it and gave it to Latasia and then gave it to Philip.
Yeah.
And you know, they were so supportive.
Okay.
They were very proud, but they was also worried because they were very young at the time. And so they were going through that pre-teen age, right?
Okay.
Where they was concerned, oh my God, are people gonna think, you know, is dad gay or does he have some type of, you know, is he gonna end up being a molester and the girls in the house? Right. So they were more concerned about what and I mean, you're at that age, what their friends were going to think.
Right.
Baby girl Marlea, she's daddy's heart. She was like, I don't care, that's my daddy. If anybody talk about my daddy, I'm gonna beat him up. You know, that's you know, that's baby girl. That's Marlea. You know, she's gonna protect her daddy, you know.
Absolutely.
Destin, you know, he was so young at the time. He was just like, oh, you wrote a book, okay. You know, and he was going out playing.
Right. You wrote a book.
So
okay.
Time, you know, he's like, okay, he wrote a book. So
that's
nice. He was so young. He's like, that's nice, okay.
Yeah.
Are we going to wrestling? You know, that was his big.
Where's the dinner?
Where's the dinner? Right. You know, can I get a Pop-Tart or Kool-Aid or something? You know, but my wife at the time, Talena, was so supportive.
Right.
And she was the one that really said, you know, if you're going to write, tell everything. Don't hold anything back. Right. And I was and I still am very appreciative. And we have a great relationship. You know, we're co-parenting our son, who's 19, Destin. Right. And he lives with me. Right. And so she's been a great mom. She's a great friend. She's an entrepreneur in her own right. Mm-hmm. And so my first wife, Shelly, she was also supportive. Right. She was a bit concerned at first. Some of the stories that I share in a book about my first marriage. Right. So she was a little bit concerned about that. But then she understood that the truth is the truth. Right. And it's interesting how God does things. My first wife and I, we own a business together. Matter of fact, next year I'll become majority owner. We own a home health care agency in Ohio. And we're good friends. My second wife, ex-wife, we're good friends. Like I said, we raised our son together. So I don't have any bad stories about my family.
And I think everybody was happy about the money, right?
Oh yeah, it changed our lifestyle.
There was no complaints. Nobody was Dad just made $1 million. Dad just made $2 million. Oh, take it back, give it back to him. No.
You know, now let me say this as far as that. That sound, you know, selling 100, and this is over periods of time, all right? So it did not happen all at once. Right. When you sell 180,000, it sounds like if people start saying, well, wow, if that's $20 a piece, then wow, that's a lot of money. Right. But the strategy that I use is a little bit different. So here's one strategy real quick that I will share about the money.
I said we want to hold. They got to come.
I just want to make sure that I want people to understand that I did not make $2 million. Okay. So I just want to make sure that I want people to think like, my God, he's a multimillionaire. Yeah. No. Okay. And I will get into as far as how those sales. I made a lot of money. Okay. But there's also people
you don't have to disclose that, and you don't have to disclose that.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. So I just didn't want people to walk away thinking that on the first book or the second book, that I made $2 million. That would be inaccurate. All right.
Right. Okay.
So I just want to set that record straight.
Okay. Well, now let's go here. Now success was taking place, healing was taking place, and they said what Biggie said, more money, more problems. So I mean, you had right, more money, more problems. Biggie, small people, know your hip hop. Okay, okay, but it was a genius. Yeah,
friends that you never heard of, family you never knew, folks coming out of the woodworks. Hey, cuz, I'm your lost cousin. Can you
Oh,
loan? Can I hold a couple of hundred? Oh yeah. Oh
y'all,
yeah.
okay, y'all are really getting the real here. You're getting the real.
Oh yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I had people that were upset with me because I didn't
Right.
support their nonprofit organization.
Wow.
I had, so-called friends that felt that I had become, quote, bougie, and that because I live, in a, 4,000 plus square foot home with a pond and, cars, and was flying all over the country and taking very nice vacations, that somehow I had changed. And it wasn't that, it was about having and putting the kids in private schools.
Right.
It was about making sure that the story got told.
Right.
But also when the financial rewards happened,
right,
that I shared it with my family and friends.
Yes.
Good example.
Yes.
One year we took very close friends of ours to vacation. We paid for everything.
Right.
And it was a way of giving, it was our way of giving back. We supported our church.
Right.
And so there was a lot of causes that we supported.
Right.
But you just can't support everything.
Right.
Well, and I think that's a mistake that people make. They think that because you're earning
right
multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I did very well.
Of course.
Multiple hundreds of thousands. We weren't suffering, okay?
Absolutely not.
We were doing quite well. We could
could
fly, go anywhere we wanted to go. Didn't have to punch a clock, none of that.
I want the people to understand. If you look back and if you haven't seen the first video, go back and see that. You just watch every video that we're able to do here. And if there's other videos on his website that at the end of the program, if he wants to of course steer you towards, watch his videos. And what we do know from the first video, that he was not about the money, and he was a hard worker. Most people, they get the undergrad and they stop, or they get the grad, okay, I'm stopped. And if you recall, he was in a certain area, was not happy. He felt that it was not in the right direction, and actually went back to school. Yes. People, come on, back to school, got education, and again, it wasn't about the money, because again, he didn't even want to write the book.
No.
Let's understand. I want everybody to understand, he did not want to write the book for very important, for very logical reasons. This is a blessing, I guess you could say, from God, and eventually transpired, manifested itself, but it was not about the money. It was, I guess, purpose, a duty, and he was rewarded. So for anybody to think that he's shallow, for him to write a book like that, you can't be shallow. But anybody think he was shallow, he was money seeking. That was all it is. Let's get over and let me just put a product out there on the market to people. I don't care. No, it took what, 7 years to even decide, I mean, for it to happen. And it was there was one time you wanted to tear the papers up, and this. So and the final triggering point, if you go back, and we'll leave it, you go back. I'm not going to, if you go back, you have to watch the first video. I'm sorry. Okay.
Eric, you're absolutely correct. I did not want to write it. I fought it. It was on my mind, like you mentioned, as I said before, for 7 years. And I just was like, I didn't think there was a story there. I really didn't think there was a story there.
Right.
I was happy, I was going to make my career in HR. I was doing well in HR, and I was making a difference. And I would, do my consulting on the side. But it kept nagging at me. Okay. And I remember, and I have to give homage to Leon Forte and Dr. Francine Childs. Leon Forte was my college pastor at Ohio University.
Okay.
And when the book came out, and I went to a class reunion and took the book there, and Dr. Francine Childs, who still is my mentor to this day, love this woman with everything that is within me. I call her Mama Childs.
Right.
And Leon Forte, he looked at the book, and he was the first one to tell me. He said, this book will become a movie. He also shared something with me. He said, most people share their stars. He said, because you was open and willing to share your scars, that God would ascend you into the stars of heaven. And he says, this is just the beginning of many. I thought I was done. I'm like, okay, God, I obeyed you. I wrote the book.
Right.
I am done.
Right.
I was wore out. I was physically and mentally drained when I was done. It was a very cathartic process winning.
Right.
And I remember saying, my God, this book did so well. And then I began to go through another situation, going through the divorce, my second divorce. And that led to this whole thing about, am I really focused? But because what happens is this, when you have a best-selling book and monies are coming in,
right,
you get so many opportunities. Remember, I said, I'm speaking for organizations, I'm speaking for churches. I'm all over the place.
Right.
And it created a distraction in the marriage.
Okay.
When you talk about problems,
more money, more problems, biggest,
especially distractions.
Right.
I remember I was doing so many speaking engagements.
Right.
That I woke up and I didn't know what city I was in. I called my wife at the time. Wow. I was like, I don't know where I'm at.
Wow.
I was doing about 100 to 150 speaking engagements all over the country based on the book. Okay. Wow.
And this is book one.
This is book one. And I didn't know where I was at.
Wow.
And then at the time my son was getting ready to turn, he was like about 5 years old. And I was on the road and she called to help plan for our son's 5th birthday, which was a big deal. You know, you're 5 years old. And I'm like, okay, I get with you. And a week went by, she didn't hear from me.
Right.
And finally, I think maybe like a couple of days before his birthday, I decided to calm down. I'm like, okay, let's plan the birthday. And she said to me, she's like, never mind, like always, I did it myself.
Right.
And I was complex because I'm like, wait a minute. We got more money coming in than we've ever had before. You living a good life. She quit her job. I'm taking care of everything. She's flying all over the country, doing everything. And she's like, our son, and apparently the family and our son is not a priority because you're so distracted.
Give me one quick second.
Yes.
Something happened. I'll be right back. I'm sorry about that. I'll be right back.
No problem.
Be right back. This is an unbelievable story. Yes. I'm coming right now. Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, I'm a caretaker for my mother that's 78, and she had called me. Yeah, I wanted to make sure she was okay real quick. But everything is okay. But
great.
Yeah, go back to, you said you were all over the world.
Yeah, I was all over the place, man, chasing we had launched another company, a credit. I was doing credit restoration seminars.
Right.
Shatter your mask for credit repairs. I just took the shattered mask.
Man, I hope the
It was
people
like chicken soup for the soul, so to speak, with the shattered mask. But I was all over the place, and I spent, it did get to a point where it became a distraction because I wouldn't say no because I felt obligated. Yeah. But at the same time, because I was saying yes to everything, the family felt like I was saying no to them. So here's the precaution with success. If you're not prepared for it, especially for the demands on your life. Okay. Remember I said I felt guilty and obligated. So if I said no, I felt like I was letting God down. Okay. So I didn't have any balance. Right. I was running myself to, as I mentioned, I didn't even know what city I was in. Right. And I used to laugh when I would hear, rappers say, "Hello, Chicago," and they in LA. It was like, but I understood that because that's a real thing. You travel so much that after a while, I remember one time I did 3 engagements in one day. Okay. On 3 different time zones. I did an event in Denver, Colorado, early in the morning, like at 8, from 8 to 10. Right. Flew from Denver to Los Angeles, did an event for the afternoon. Yeah. And then from Los Angeles, I did a late night in Florida. Okay. That's crazy. I went from Central to Pacific time to Eastern time. Yeah, and I can imagine too. I mean, I can imagine. Hopefully, with your help, one day, I'll get to see the reality of it as well. And many more out there. Hopefully, you will get the opportunity to get to know him and work with him as well. That in that moment, you're kind of like, well, this could be a fading moment. I got to hit, strike the iron while it's hot. Yes. So you're like, I got to do this. I got to take care of my family. I can do this. And you might, you're not losing sight of your family, or you're not trying to, but that still their reality is that they feel that you are, even though that you're actually doing this for them. Right. But I think the problem or the difficulty arose where I began to talk about the money. I say, but I'm doing it so that you can travel. I'm doing this so that you can, stay home and not have to work. I'm doing it so the luxuries of life. The luxuries of life. Yeah. And I remember her saying one time, and it was so true. She's like, "Lyman, I never asked for all this." Wow. 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 I didn't ask for a 4,000 square foot house with a gourmet kitchen. This was you. Wow. I didn't ask for a pond. That pond is for you. So let's get it straight. All this is about you and your validation. I never asked you. I was happy in my little small 2-bedroom home. Right. And I said, so why am I doing this? Yeah. What was the answer there? The answer was, what did she respond back? I said that to myself. I said that to myself. Okay. Oh, why am I'm saying to myself, sorry. Okay. So why am I doing all this? And I got me thinking that it's not about Rolexes. It's not about, Cadillacs. It's not about traveling and staying in nice hotel like the MGM one year. The biggest suite and all that. It's not about, I was like, so what is it really about? And what I had to come to terms with, Brother Eric, is that there was a sense of accomplishment. Okay. Of saying, wow, I did something and I'm being recognized for the fruits of my labor. Right. And the person that should be rejoicing with me almost despising it. So it created a rift. In our relationship. Do you feel that she felt that the business became the mistress? That the business became... She would even say that, why do we have more money in the business account than our personal account? Because it's business. You can't and I'm trying to explain, you can't commingle funds or, but I didn't do it, I probably didn't do a good job. And I'm gonna be very transparent and honest with you. It got so bad that I had an affair.
Wow.
I'm very transparent. So if you thought I was gonna talk about the good, no. It got so bad that I felt like I got all this stuff going on that I became a victim of my own success, because I'm doing all this that I'm thinking I'm doing for the family, Eric.
I hate to tell you that in a positive way, so don't get it negative. Your life sounds like a movie. I mean, your life actually sounds like a movie. When you said you had the affair and all of this and the way that you're talking, that, but that's another. That's okay. So
I'm at the height. I'm at the height of everything.
So where did you meet? Okay. So number one, I guess I think that for some reason your wife might have, you got this big success. It was more than what she could envision, and it happened. And she apparently felt that the success became more than, was more important at a point than her. She became jealous of the success. Not even jealous that you were successful, but jealous of the success.
Because of the attention. It was the attention.
Right.
And part of what happened is that I started feeling like a failure again.
Right.
Book is doing well. I'm getting asked to speak all over the place. And I would share my success with my wife at the time, and it wouldn't be, oh, I'm glad. It was like, oh, okay. And I'm like, what?
So you really you want to have success in all, you're telling people, the lay people out there, everybody out there, you want to have success in all areas, not in one area, and then you
not just in one area.
Right.
Exactly.
And this, well, here we go. This probably is a movie. So what caused the new lady, and where did she come from?
So what happened?
I mean, if you're open book.
Yeah, no problem. Like I said, my life is transparent. Right. So what happened was that I come home, my wife went into, at the time, a deep depression. I didn't know, because I was so busy gone. Because keep in mind, she's dealing with, 4 kids. I'm not there. I'm on the road. Got this big house to take care of. And, I come in, every now and again. And when I would come home, I would hear nothing but complaints.
Right.
And I'm like, I've been on the road. I'm tired. I don't want to come home and hear complaints. Right. And then it became where we would get in arguments about the kids.
Okay.
Because I would come home and I would expect the house to be clean, to be spotless, food on the table. And none of that was happening.
Okay.
And so I just started feeling used. Like,
now, what was she doing during this time? That she was
stay-at-home mom. She was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay, what was she doing not to do what would seem to be her part, maybe? That's
a great question. She just, all I knew, she went into a depression.
Okay.
And the house wasn't kept, dishes.
Okay.
And so I would come off the road, and I'm a neat freak, I admit. So I'm coming off the road, I'm doing dishes, I'm cutting the grass.
Right.
It's like I had 3 jobs,
Okay. Right.
And then I'm listening to the complaints, oh, Destin did this. Oh, the girls did this. Or, oh, the girls need money for drill team. Oh, I need to get we need to get our hair done. And so it felt like all I was an ATM. That's how I felt. That wasn't okay. That's how I felt, that I was only there to be an ATM. All right. Okay. But again, this is Lyman's psychological issues that's going on in his head.
Right.
Again, that old message of feeling undervalued, not appreciated. You start playing these stories.
Right.
And I remember we got into a heated argument. And I planted this seed. I said, I don't even know why I'm here. I mean,
Right.
We're not even being intimate because
Right.
I would
Right.
come home and she would say, I'm too tired, I got a headache.
Right.
And I would say something stupid like, what I got to do with the other part of your body? You know,
Okay.
stupid.
Right.
And then she would get mad and we get into
Right.
these little, fights and everything.
Right.
And I felt like, okay, I don't know what didn't happen before I had money.
Right.
We were doing good. We got married.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I was doing good. So
No, you were successful. You were successful
Right.
prior to that.
But
So what?
So what ended up happening is I said to
what
her,
triggered it? Yeah.
we got in an argument.
Right.
And I said to myself, I thought this thought.
Right.
I said, you know what? Why am I even here? I'm not having sex. I'm not doing this. I should find somebody that at least, would take care of my, needs. I left and went to this place called Cold Beer Cheeseburger, downtown Dayton. And there was a Hispanic young lady.
Right.
That was, I'm eating, I don't know what, turkey. So I don't know what I was eating.
Right.
Looks at me, I look at her, and this literally, like that cartoon, you got an angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. It was literally, this voice said, go say hi to her. She's checking you out.
Right.
And this other voice like, man,
what
you doing?
Right.
You better go home to your wife.
Right.
I'm like, no, man, you a man, you doing all this stuff. You
deserve to be happy.
You deserve to be, yes, you deserve to be happy.
I think that
you
was
the
Tiger
man.
Woods was saying,
how you gonna be punked out? How you gonna let her punk you out?
Yeah, I think Tiger Woods was, okay, good. Good was saying something like that. Go ahead.
So,
yeah.
And then she walked by and she had a straw and she licked around the straw.
Right.
And the next thing you know, I go sit by her.
Right.
And I say, you really shouldn't do that to a lonely man. And we ended up in a conversation. Right. And that conversation ended up in a 3-week affair. Okay. I'll be honest with you. The first week or two, oh man, I'm in heaven. Okay. I mean, I'm like enjoying this. Right. She didn't know anything about me. I didn't know anything about her. I loved it that way. Right. The third week, I felt convicted. Okay. All I could hear was, so this is going to be the end of your story. Right. And this is just like everybody. Let's put this in context. Was this right after the first book? Did you go into the second book? No, this is still the first book. Wow. Okay. And I remember thinking. And were you offered the movie by this time? No, the movie came later. Wow. The movie stuff came many years later. Okay. But I remember thinking to myself, this is how this is going to end. Right. I called the young lady. Mm-hmm. I broke off the infest. I can't do this anymore. This is not me. That's good. I went to my pastor. Right. And I confessed to my pastor. Right. And he said, does your wife know? And I said, no. He said, you really need to tell. He said, I'll be there with you. Right. I'm like, no. So I met with my wife. Right. And I told her everything. Okay. And here's the mistake that I made. I told her everything. Then I went and bought her an Escalade. A Ford Explorer. Right. You probably should have went with the pastor, but go ahead. I bought her this pearl white, fully loaded Ford Explorer. Right. And a week later, she's like, take it back. I can't drive this. You can't buy my forgiveness. Wow. So I took it back. The dealership looking at me like I'm crazy. Right. They were making big money here. Yeah. Right. They looking at me like I'm crazy. But she said, I can't drive this. I don't want it. Right. And then I went into I set my family down. I set my whole family down. Destin all of them. Right. And I told them what I had done. Right. They didn't quite understand. They were like, you did what? Right. How would you do that? And I answered all of their questions. Right. Then I told my pastor, I said, Pastor, I said, as a leader in the church, because I was the elder in the church. Right. I said, I need to confront the congregation. Right. And I stood before the church and confessed. Wow. How did that go? How was it? It divided the church. The men, the deacons, They understood.
Right.
The women,
Right.
well, let's just say
they were not happy campers.
It was like, how could you do that to Sister Talena?
Right.
I mean, you're supposed to be an elder.
Right. Supposed to be a role model.
You're supposed to be a role model. See, that's what happened.
Right. You get a little money and here
you get
a
little money and I mean, and I endured it. I endured all of it. I sat on the front.
Right.
I gave up my position, my pastor.
Right.
He sat me down for 3 years. I wasn't allowed. He banned me. He said, "You're not allowed to speak, teach, or anything."
Right.
He said, "You need to be healed."
Right.
And
did you go? Did you get counseling?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good.
Went through counseling,
okay,
therapy,
right,
and began to understand
that
while I talked about the different masks and shattering those masks, the one that I did not, and no one could prepare you for this, was success.
Right.
Not the money. See, the money didn't bother me.
Okay.
It was people's response
to
me doing the right thing. So it wasn't like I started smelling myself like, oh, look what I've done.
I'm this,
it was
I'm
like
that.
I said,
right.
I'm out here doing these things and people looking at me like, oh, you think you all this? Oh, you done got you a big house. And I'm like, but I'm still Day from the hood.
I'm the same person. Wait a minute.
I'm the same person.
You saw me come up. I was humble all the time. I didn't even want to write this book.
Right, absolutely. And so when people started like literally turning against me, because of doing what I didn't even want to do in the first place.
Right.
What happened is now you got that old recording. See there? Your life was a lot better. You didn't have all this. And so I began to self-sabotage a lot of things.
Okay, now tell me, because I want to move through and stuff, and I definitely want to get to that third video when we get there. And I want them to just kind of take these gems that came along. How long did it take for the second marriage to the reality of when did it end?
After the affair, she stayed with me for 5 years. So she stayed with me for 5 years.
And then what happened?
Affair.
Right.
And one day she said, I can't do this anymore. I don't trust you. It's unfair to you. I mean, she was putting her hand on her car. I had to call her. She was checking my phone and everything. She was like, it's unfair.
Right.
And I released you.
Okay.
And so she moved out.
Okay.
And I understood. I had betrayed the trust of the family.
Right.
And so
and this still prior to before the second book?
This is before,
Before the second book.
Before
all of this occurred before the second book.
All this before the second book.
And all this before, the movie offer?
This is before the movie offer.
And this is also before receiving the PhD.
This is before receiving the PhD. This is years.
We're talking about one book, people.
This is one book.
Oh, this has got to be
a book that turned into consulting gigs. It turned into programs.
Wow.
That turned in. I mean, it literally put me on the map.
Okay. Yes.
And so the reason that the second book was because going through that divorce and being so distracted. That's why the book is called Focus Driven Lifestyle, is that I had to learn.
Right.
How do I focus my mind?
Right.
So that when, whether it's success, distractions, that I'm not swayed by my emotions.
Right.
And I stay focused.
And let's just do this house cleaning activity. Special thanks to, we both know Miss Lady MYYA. That made the connection. And I want everybody to go watch her videos. And I want you to go, and I have to go myself now, I'm definitely go watch the videos that you did with her as well. So special thanks again to media personality Lady MYYA. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We have to support everybody, especially when they support you. She sends guests. She sent you my way. So and I sent guests her way. So it's just a beautiful, thing. And so let's go here. So the divorce happened. Is this when you decided, okay, at some point you decided, okay, the second book, and I have to write about being focused. Is that when this
Yes.
happened? Okay.
Yeah, what happened is there was a time period. So when I went through the divorce and I just became a recluse, kind of fell off the map. And I really wanted to understand this whole notion of how to get focused. You know, people always say, well, you need to get focused, but how do you do it?
Right.
And so I went on this quest for 3 years, studying, reading everything I could about the brain, brain chemistry, brain science, neuroplasticity, which means how the brain continues to grow and to expand, understanding neural pathways, understanding that people are flooded with cortisol. That's that stress hormone that causes weight gain. I gained almost believe it or not, almost 300 pounds. I almost went to 300 pounds. I was just miserable. I had breathing disorder. I was just in a miserable shape.
But at the same time, still successful financially and career-wise.
Yes. Royalties are still coming in, but I'm miserable.
And you're still getting speaking engagements.
I'm still getting speaking engagements and everything. Yeah. But I just had to quiet
and
the
people
noise.
And a lot of people didn't even know what was going on, but you kept pushing
through.
They
didn't. I was very honest. Right. I was very honest.
But you didn't harp. Of course, you didn't harp.
But I didn't harp on it.
Right.
If it was appropriate and I felt that it would be a benefit, then I would share. Like on this show here, sharing to let people know when you ask the question about more money, more problems.
Right.
I'm letting people know as a warning.
Right.
That when you reach a certain level of success, you have to prepare for the success.
Right.
Most people, we just think, man, I just want to be successful.
Right.
But there are some trappings that comes along with money, with success, with being
and
a best-selling author.
And do you feel that, okay, maybe this woman didn't even know you was a best-selling author, but I've heard people say that with success, you come with a certain type of energy and confidence.
That's true.
And
that's
people,
true.
And believe it or not, and this, I mean, women can feel this, and they're attracted to this. You could be the best looking person in the world, but you don't have that energy. And to a lot of attractive women or women out there, they're not attracted to you. And then you could be so and so or whatever, but you have this energy, this charisma,
Eric,
and women are attracted to this third dimension element that can only be felt almost.
It is. One of the things that even when I was in that state, she said I walked in like I owned the place.
Wow.
And
this one lady.
Yes. This is Maria, who I call, that's not a real name, but in the book I call her Maria.
Right.
She was Hispanic.
Right.
But I call her Maria in the book.
Right.
She said I walked in like I owned the place.
Okay.
The other thing that she looked at was my teeth and my nails.
Okay.
And I'm one that believes you take care of yourself. So I do. Men, I do get, manicures and pedicures because I'm in a speaking world. And
you have to
taking care of your teeth and taking care of your body, well groomed.
Right.
And she said, she's like, you have such, she used the term not confident, but aura. She said, you have such a positive aura. Okay. You must be somebody important. Wow. Those were her words. And I just kind of, I do okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, I was at a conference.
Right.
And I was speaking. I was not speaking at this conference. I was in attendance.
Right.
And a young lady walked up to me. I didn't know her from Adam's Inn.
Right.
And she said, "You are somebody." I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "The way you command." She said, when you walked in the room, everybody turned and looked. She said, "You have such a presence."
Right.
But she's like, and she said, "I'm a dating coach."
Right.
Confidence to a woman is like an aphrodisiac.
Wow.
I'm like,
wow.
I called my wife and told her what she said.
Right. We didn't mean to get of
Right.
Kevin Samuels on you people out here. And we're not getting to the red pill, but you got a little taste of that, people.
Right.
A little
But yeah,
splash
that's
of
what I
red pill.
that's what I was
Yeah,
told. That's what I
yeah,
was told, you know.
right,
And I'm like, but me, you know,
right,
but there is a certain level of confidence that you have
right,
to have.
right.
And I would have some people, you know, confuse confidence with arrogance. And no,
Okay,
it's
right,
just being, when you know what you're talking about
right,
and you've helped hundreds and thousands of people
right,
to shatter their masks.
right,
And even though you've gone through the
right,
valleys of life,
right,
okay,
right.
and you have emerged on the other side,
Yeah,
not without scars,
right,
not unscathed. No,
right,
you got arrows in your back, you
right,
got,
right,
you know, gunshot wounds and
right.
everything else, figuratively speaking,
I
but
hate to
you
say,
survived.
I think you have another book, something of talking about success. You got another book going there. I mean, that's
Yeah.
coming, that's in the works. I mean, that would be an interesting thing. I think that men would in the manosphere, Black manosphere, in the manosphere, and just overall, that's a fourth book that I'm writing about. But that's something for somebody from that plane that you really have a lot to say and really can explain a lot and really clarify a lot of things. So let's continue on with so you I guess you regroup after the divorce, and now
Yeah,
you're
we went
going
on a 3-year journey
right.
of just really learning about how to focus my mind,
Mhm.
How to say no.
Right. Now
Really, that's the key.
now when did the movie offer took place, and then did that
2
come
years ago.
did that
2
come
years ago.
okay,
So in 2018, 2019,
that came after the second book came out?
after the second book.
And
Right.
and the
Well,
movie
actually,
and let me ask you this quick, the movie thing, they're trying to put a timeline for everybody, that and that came before the PhD, or
they came after.
okay
So for
okay.
example,
So
now
let's
there
go
are
back to the
several
second.
books.
Let's go
Right,
back to the.
right.
Let's go back to.
So
to
there
the
are
second.
several books
Go
in
ahead.
between the book
Okay.
back here. This is my fourth or fifth book.
Okay.
So
So
I had written several other books with a partner
okay.
that were more like business books, right?
Okay.
7 Minutes to Success.
Okay.
And that talks about how to start, grow, and leave a legacy. All right.
Okay.
But it's more, and that was the one that was sponsored and supported by 37 or 38 small business administrations around the country who endorsed that book. And so that was written from the standpoint of how. But that book in the back was always on the forefront about focus.
Okay.
But because I'd had so much success,
right,
people started wanting to know, well, how do I start a business? So that's why I wrote the other books that were more of a business book,
right,
that talk more about the technical side of how to incorporate and all that stuff, right?
So what was the second book?
The second book was 7 Minutes to Success.
7 Minutes to Success. And was that connected to the turmoil with the success? That was not.
That was not. No.
Okay.
This one
and
was
what triggered that? And how what you wrote that 4 years after the first book? What triggered you writing that book?
Yeah, what triggered 7 Minutes to Success was a friend of mine. We became writing partners, Don Fobbs.
Right.
We met at the National Speakers Association.
Right.
And we were talking, she had written, I think, 12 or 15 books at the time.
Right.
And she fell in love with my first book.
Right.
And she said, hey, Lyman, I would love to collaborate on a book, with you.
And I guess we can say she knew about the first book.
She knew about,
So okay, now people, of course, now people are going to want to write with a successful.
Okay,
good.
And
go
so
ahead.
We sat down and said, well, what write about? And she was like, a lot of people, they don't know how to start a business.
Okay.
And so it'd be great to write a book about, writing a book. And I said, one of the things when I think about it is really if you just took, and I said that you took 7 minutes a day just to write
Right.
down an idea.
Right.
And she was like, oh, wow, that's a great title, 7 Minutes to Success.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and I'm like, oh, okay. And so,
Yeah.
but yeah, she knew about the first book.
Right.
And so that book, you know, she was very instrumental, Don Fobbs,
Right.
in getting, you know, the SBA to support it.
Okay.
And then from that book, the third book was the 7 Minute Journal.
And let's say the second book was a success as well.
That was a business success. Yes, that was a
Okay,
business
okay.
success, did very well.
Okay.
Then the third book was a journal that was a
Okay.
companion to that, which is
Okay.
called the 7 Minute Journal.
Okay.
And that one just took every day and it had sort of a theme, and you would
Right.
think about,
Right.
you know, success and your day and daily rituals and things of that nature.
So you just kind of jumped into the character of a writer. This is what
Of a writer, right. I
Right.
immersed myself in that.
Okay.
And so then we did, so Shattered Math was the first book, 7 Minutes to Success was the second book, 7 Minute Morning Journal was the third book.
And now the third book, that was before PhD.
That was all these are before PhD.
Okay, and this next one coming up, was that also
So
before?
72 questions.
Go ahead.
That was when I was in my PhD program. It's a little small book.
Okay.
And that book's about little small books, about 72 questions that you should ask yourself when it comes to starting or launching a business. You know, these are some critical questions that you should ask yourself.
Okay.
Once that series was over, all the 7 minutes and 72 questions, this thought still kept coming up.
Okay.
But it doesn't make sense.
What triggered how did that then after that you were like, okay, well, why not just go get a PhD?
What triggered that, going back,
I'm talking about the
going back to
PhD.
the focus, I'm gonna get to that. Going back to the last book, which was Focus Driven Lifestyle.
Okay.
One day I sat down and I said, wait a minute. I am not living my true self again, because I went back and I looked at my life goals. And I've always had I was the kid that had his life goals from age 12.
Okay.
And one of the things that I mentioned, I said at age 35, I wanted to have my PhD.
Okay. Okay.
Now I'm 45. I think I'm 44, 45.
Right.
And I said, okay, I'm going to take the next year and just look at PhD programs. Okay. Then I found a great program that would allow me to travel, that would allow me, it was online, because I was debating between going through a traditional PhD program in a classroom or doing an online, a regionally accredited online program. Right. And I came across North Central University. They had the best reviews for HR. Okay. And I applied and got accepted. Of course. And halfway through, so and that's my coursework.
Let me just insert this real quick. I'm just to the timeline. Okay. Sure. So this is after 3 books, successful books.
This is after 3, right.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Now I decided I'm gonna take some time and focus on getting a PhD. Okay. So PhD is about a 4-year commitment. Okay. About 2 years, 2.5 years of coursework. And then you have about 2 years to 3 years of actually writing your dissertation.
And you're like 45 at this point.
45, right. Okay. And so 45 is when I'm thinking about it. 46, I took like a year to kind of research, apply. And then 46 is when I took my first, I think I was in June or somewhere, 46.
And I'm gonna be the devil.
Halfway, I may have been close to 47. I think about it. I think I was either summer 46 or somewhere near.
I'm to play the devil's advocate, and it would be like, well, you had all the success. What was the need for the PhD? But I think you might have already answered that. You said that was a life goal, and you wanted.
It was a life goal. It was a life goal of mine. I remember at age 12 saying, with the name Lyman Montgomery, It needs to have doctor in front of it.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
And I just like the sound of it. Then I found out through my grandfather that I was actually named after a Dr. Lyman.
Wow.
And so I'm like, man, we don't have, and I looked at my family here, so we don't have any doctors in our family.
Right.
So I'll be the first one.
Right.
And so now we got 3, because my cousin, she has her PhD as well. My cousin, Alicia Montgomery, has her doctorate. And so, so that's.
And how was that experience? Now, so was that you said that was an online? Did you interact with any of the other PhD students? And
no,
this was successful so person that you were.
This was unique because North Central University, they have what they call an apprentice. There's 2 types of PhD program. You have what's called a cohort, where there's a group of you that kind of go through the program together, or you have an apprentice, where I work directly with my academic advisor and chair of the program one-on-one.
Right.
And so their structure was more of an apprentice, based off of the French structure of an apprenticeship type of PhD.
Right.
And it was tough. I went through 3 advisors. My first advisor retired.
Yeah.
Then I got a advisor. She was absolutely horrible. I mean,
not
horrible.
supportive.
Horrible.
Horrible.
She was so bad that they actually removed all her students from her.
Wow.
Because she would, for example, would have you write something. You would write it the way she told you to, and then she would ask you, why did you write it this way? And it felt like a mental game.
Right.
And so the chair of my department called me up to get and said, we've had several complaints about, Dr. So-and-so. And I just shared, I turned in some papers.
Right.
And they said, we understand we've had multiple complaints. We're going to assign a new advisor, which was Dr. Barbara Alston, and she was absolutely fantastic. So, good. And I know there's a lesson in that. If you want something, go after. My first advisor was awesome. He retired midstream. I got one that was not very supportive. Was unclear. And then the last one, Dr. Barbara Alston, was absolutely fantastic. And she shared with me, she was like, listen, Lyman, she was like, you are a great writer. I've read your books. Now I've got to turn you into an academic writer.
So there's a difference.
There's a big difference, difference, especially when you're writing from the standpoint of adding to what they call the academy. All right. And the style of writing is different. And especially APA, the American Psychological Association style, because most people don't talk in APA, which, for example, would be, Martin and Delaney, 1987, postulated that, quote, quote, quote. Most people don't talk that way. So it's a different way of thinking. But what a PhD program did for me, it gave me another set of tools to do research. And to look at how to synthesize and analyze data using a theoretical framework that when you write, that you get to the main point. And you can support your argument backed up by what we call peer-reviewed research. And you're not just giving your opinion. Whereas most books is based on either your personal opinion or your lived experience, which no one can take from you. And so just a different style of writing. And I wanted to, be able to master both. To write from the standpoint of a compelling story. But also to be able to write from the standpoint of an academic argument. Backed up by the research, and so that I could contribute to the academy
Okay.
and things of that nature. And so I focused in on engagement, employee engagement.
Right.
And it was stuff that I had always been interested in.
Okay.
But not from the standpoint of writing, let's say, a business book about it.
Okay.
And so now there are several other books that are in the works.
Okay.
One is based on my research.
Right.
Through my doctoral program, which my dissertation is published. And so people can actually, go online and purchase my dissertation.
Yeah.
Because all my works are published. Okay. And so going back to
two quick questions. I got to get these gems out. So even during the PhD time, you wrote another book that was not right. That was not connected to the program.
That was not connected to the program.
Wow. I mean, so that's a busy person. And how did your social life go in terms of maybe meeting a potential new spouse or dating? How did all of that? We have to add, how did family life go with the children and the two ex-wives as well?
Yeah, and so I met my third wife at the beginning of my doctoral program.
Okay.
Probably about 6 months before I started. I think we met 6 months before I started.
Okay.
At the gym. I was getting back in shape. I met her at the gym. Yeah. She's 25. She was 25 years younger.
All right.
And so she's an old soul.
Right.
And we just clicked.
Okay.
And it was kind of interesting because I would move to one machine and she would follow me to that machine.
Right.
And come to find out that she actually worked for a fraternity brother of mine.
So she knew you. She knew you then. She knew
of me. She knew of me. Right. She knew of me. And we just clicked.
Okay.
And we started going out very casually.
Right.
And then it got serious.
Right.
And then we dated for about 6 months to maybe 9 months. Then we dated for 6 or 9 months.
Right.
And then we decided, hey, let's be
tie
an
the knot.
item and tie the knot. And so my mother was concerned because she was so much younger than me, and she's in the military.
Okay.
And so she came from a long line of military. Her dad, her granddad, her uncles, her cousin, they were all in the military. Right. And so interesting, we were married for 5 years.
Okay.
But we only lived together 1.5 years because she got sent on tour of duty to Cuba twice. She did 2 tours.
So are y'all married? Are you married now?
No. I got a Dear Lyman letter from Cuba.
You got what happened now?
A Dear Lyman letter that she found someone over there and divorced. So
I had a 5-year relationship with a young lady back during school time. I'm 52, and I think we might have come in agreement that long distance relationships is probably not the way to go.
Yeah, especially she's in Cuba at the time.
Right.
I couldn't go over there.
Right.
And she did 2 18-month tours.
Right.
So 3 years she spent in Cuba.
Right.
She came back a little bit, and then they sent her. She's still in the military. She's in Atlanta, Georgia now.
Okay.
But we're good friends.
Right.
She was too young. She was, like I said, 25 years different.
Right.
And so
we were the same age range, and I was in Texas and she was in Baltimore, Maryland, but it just kind of
it's tough.
It fell apart. And then by the way, she found somebody else. So that long distance relationship is I would advise people against that.
Yeah, it is tough. Now, one thing I would say, if y'all want to know, did I cheat? Never cheated on her. Never. I learned. I'm a good learner.
Right.
The turmoil that I went through when I cheated on my second wife and that pain, I would not wish on anyone.
Right.
And so even though she was in Cuba for 3 years, I remained faithful, to her because I honored my vows.
Okay.
And since then, I did something that I'm not proud of. but we're good friends. Matter of fact, she spoke at my conference that I
You,
had
you're
last
human.
year.
I mean, you're.
Yeah.
I mean, saying that was human. That was reasonable. I mean, you went through a lot of problems. You know, just writing the first book. That was such a big weight. So I mean, maybe it's because I'm a man. I could understand and stuff like that. And you, as they say, you know, you learn as you grow, as you go.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it was painful, but I understood. I definitely understood why she wanted a divorce.
Right.
Because she had no intent of coming back to Indiana.
Okay.
She loves the military. She was a military police officer.
Right.
She was looking to do a tour in Iraq.
Right.
I mean, in Afghanistan.
Right.
But she ended up getting sent, I think, somewhere else.
Right.
And, you know, she just felt that she would be holding me back.
Okay.
From pursuing my dreams and everything.
Okay.
And interesting story. She's an entrepreneur now. Like I said, she spoke at my conference.
Okay.
Last year.
Okay. So okay. So all of this happens. You come out of the PhD program, and I guess the
in 2020. I graduated in 2020.
Okay, 2020, in the midst of the COVID, huh?
Yes.
So you couldn't have the graduation.
What's happened? Actually, what they did, that's a great question. What they did is those who graduated in 2020 and this year, so the graduation is actually taking place next Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm glad they decided to do that.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. So even though I graduated, so it was interesting. And I kind of planned it this way. I wanted to graduate the year of vision, 2020 for vision and focus.
Okay.
So it worked out. It worked out that way. But the actual graduation ceremony will take place next week in Nashville.
Okay. And so you wrote your fourth book that's separate from the PhD program. You come out 2020. When did this film that you actually took it? When did it first happen, and when did you take it seriously?
Yeah, and so
so you were what? You were 51 when doing the graduation? I mean, when you completed the PhD program?
No, I was 52 and a half, the graduation.
Okay.
So I'm 54 now.
Okay.
And so
let's go to the film.
Yeah, and so about 2 years ago.
Okay.
So about late 2018 going into 2019, they started reaching out to me, and I thought it was a scam. I'll be honest.
Right.
And so then in 2020, take that back. 2019. This was October, I believe, of 2019.
Okay.
We had a telephone call.
Okay.
And I finally said, okay, I'll at least listen. So I got a message from LinkedIn from Ariel with EC Productions.
Okay.
And she was like, do not hang up. This is not
right. Give me a chance. Give me a second. Give me a chance.
Just give us 30 minutes of your time to meet with the producer, meet with the director. I'm like, okay. And she was the first person to send me everything about my. She's like, I read your book. I love your book. And she could even quote certain passages from the book. Right. So she was like, can we schedule a meeting in, I think it was January, January. So that's October 2019, January 2020. We had our first meeting.
Wow. Prior to COVID. Okay.
Prior to COVID, right. So we had the meeting in January 2020.
Okay.
We had our second meeting in February to sign the deal that gave me a month.
And that's prior to COVID.
Prior to COVID.
And what you're 52 at this time?
I'm 52, grade B. Yeah, I'm 52.
Okay.
In 2020.
Okay.
So then once we signed the deal and everything, they said, they put together a production schedule.
Okay.
And then about June.
Okay.
Then about June or July,
Right.
they gave me the schedule and said, hey, we want to shoot your portion
Right.
of the movie in 2021 because of COVID at this time is going on.
Okay.
And LA, remember, had been shut down and nothing was moving. And so they called me again in January. Now almost a year's gone by. Called me in January of 2021.
Right.
And they said, I think we'll be able to shoot on location.
Right.
Because they was thinking that with COVID, they was thinking about doing like a video sort of thing.
Right.
But they really wanted me to come out to LA.
Right.
So they's like, things have loosened up a little bit. So let's shoot, let's plan to come down in April of 2021.
Okay.
And so my business partner and I, we flew out there in April. And we were out there for 3 or 4 days, I think.
Okay.
And I mean, it was long. I mean, you're talking some shoots, man, would take 12 hours or longer.
Wow.
And all you do is like walking across the street.
Right.
You do like 10 or 12 takes. And
okay. So wait a minute. So now you're an actor.
Now, yes. Yeah, I guess technically, yes. Yes. I didn't think about it that way, but yeah.
You're an actor now.
An actor,
It's all because of your book.
Because of the book.
Okay.
And then they wanted to shoot a scene of me speaking.
Right.
And so my sister.
So now are you 53 at this point?
I'm 53, right. Because I didn't turn 54 till June.
Okay. Okay.
Of this year. So
what's your birthday?
June 25th.
Guess what? Mine's June 21st.
Get out of here. All right. All right. Good company.
But continue on with very interesting. Very interesting. Okay.
And so they wanted to shoot a scene of me speaking and also coaching.
Okay.
And so so they brought in some extras. My sister's in the movie, my business partner's in the movie as extras.
Right.
And I'm doing this like training course.
Right.
And then they wanted to do an interview about the sexual abuse. Okay. And what I really loved about that experience is that it didn't focus solely on the abuse.
Okay.
But what happens after the abuse and how were you able to turn, as I mentioned before, turn that tragedy into strategies to become a world-renowned speaker, author, now I add actor.
Right, actor, you had to put that on the resume now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also still live in this humility, this truth. That I am humbled every day.
Right.
That God would allow me to have this platform to help others.
And didn't you have 1 or 2 more books after?
Yeah.
How many more books after that?
Well, they haven't been published. Well, actually, yesterday, as a matter of fact, I just remember that. Yeah, yesterday, my latest book released, which is Shattered Mask from Tragedy to Strategy. That released yesterday.
So how many books now that's out? I mean, I know you have some.
So right now there are 6 books out.
Right, and another book that you're working on. Okay.
And 2 more books that I'm working on.
Okay.
Yeah, I got 2 more books. Yes. And that's not including the ones that I was a ghostwriter.
Okay.
I've also
that's another talent. That's another talent.
Yeah, I've also ghostwritten a couple of books.
Okay.
And so, but it's something that I really enjoy. I think once you tap into that creative ability to write, that every day I'm writing something.
Okay.
And it's like a singer, singers sing, writers write.
Right.
And so I probably have 10 book ideas floating around in my head.
Wow.
Now, when they will end up on paper, it's probably like, I'll just tell you, like right now, there's a book that there's 3 books that's in the work right now. Okay. It's almost done. That my business partner and I are doing. One is called Negotiate Like a Mixed Martial Artist. This is
Okay.
all about how to negotiate deals and
Okay.
contracts, but using my martial arts, background
Mm-hmm.
and my HR background and
Yeah.
teaching people some strategies on
Right.
how to negotiate
Yeah.
union contracts specifically.
Right.
And my business partner is a former union boss. And so
Okay.
she's like, so we're like these two combatants, right?
Okay.
She's writing from her perspective of the union, and
Yeah.
I'm writing from the perspective of management. So it's one of them, again, interesting take on
Right.
writing that is different when you have
Right.
two on the opposite side of the table, yet they collaborate to write a book. So I'm
Wow.
always looking for things that are different.
Okay.
That's interesting as well.
But-
Also, there's a grant
Right.
writing book that a partner and I that we're working on
Okay.
that's written in a format of a cookbook. It's called Proposal Writing Made Easy Cookbook. To show
Wow.
you how to write proposals to get funded. If you want to fund,
Okay.
if you're looking for SBA loans,
Right.
any type of business deal,
Right.
angel investors,
Right.
nonprofit, how to get money from the federal government, nonprofit. So, that's the other book that is in the work.
That's a big book. That's a big book.
Yeah. And because people ask me that all the time, they're like, man, I have a business, but how do I get it funded?
Right. Right.
What are the strategies? And I've worked with many companies to help them get funded. So basically what I've done, Eric, is I've taken all my life experiences,
Right.
and I look at how they can turn into income streams.
Okay.
Either through books or programs.
I throw no one out there. This might come my way as too, but I think why not? I noticed that cryptocurrency is a hot topic now.
It really is. And then I invest a little bit, just very small in crypto. Don't quite understand it.
Right.
But it's doing quite well. So yeah, you're right. I have friends that is in that market of cryptocurrency, and
maybe co-write a book with one of them.
Yeah, learn more about it. And and sometimes that's what happens is an idea becomes something that I'm very interested in,
right,
or have a curiosity about,
right,
or I may have a different perspective,
right,
of, wow, this is interesting. How do I navigate through this? And my books always begin with a question.
Okay.
And that question generally is, I haven't been able to find what I'm looking for out there in the marketplace. So let me give my take on it. And so that's how my books generally find themselves on the shelves or in people's homes. Right. Being curious. As a kid, I was a kid that got in trouble for always saying why.
Okay.
Can I go outside? No, but why? Why is the sky blue?
Right.
Why does God have a son and not a daughter? That was me.
Okay. Now I'd be remiss not to ask you, from your vantage point and your station in life, which is a high station, what was your experience of COVID for you and your family and friends? What was that experience like for you?
Excellent question.
Yeah.
Very, very blessed and fortunate that no one in my immediate family or extended family suffered from COVID, but I had friends, close friends that did.
Okay.
Have very, very bad bouts with COVID. Okay. Financially, I will say that during the time of the pandemic, I probably made more money when things shut down than I had made in years.
Wow.
We did close to, in a 6-month period, we did over $367,000 in a 6-month period. For the year, we did 487,000, almost 500,000 for the year.
Wow.
But those last 6 months, we were killing it.
Wow.
Because of our message again, focus.
Okay.
I mean, really, it was a time that things were shut down. They couldn't go out. It was the first time people had to deal with distractions.
Wow.
And we also hosted a conference in the midst of COVID.
Wow.
We did a hybrid conference called Live Your Focus Encounter in Atlanta, Georgia, where we had about 30 speakers.
Okay.
And so that's another opportunity where we host events and speakers pay to speak at our events and be sponsored as well.
Okay.
And so, we did very well with that.
Mm-hmm.
We had 10,000 people register online that watched the live, the Live Your Focus, or we call it a LYFE conference.
Okay.
We're not having a LYFE conference this year because my partner is running for a city commission seat in Ohio.
Okay.
And so we want to focus on that. But in 2022, we will have the conference, and we're limiting the number of speakers. Because one of the things that people were saying, like we didn't need all those speakers.
Right.
And so we're going to have just a small number of speakers. We want to give a lot of value to. And again, the book, Focus Driven Lifestyle, that book became the playbook for the conferences and stuff. Okay. And everything that we do now. And so again, getting focused, right?
Right.
As far as, so now everything that we do is geared towards focus-driven lifestyle. Okay. Matter of fact, if you Google focus-driven lifestyle, my name is in the top 2 or top 3 somewhere in there. Wow. For that word. So I've sort of have a moniker on that word, focus-driven.
And you said that during that time period when other people may have not experienced such great outcomes.
Oh yeah.
You were making somewhere in, you said 500,000, 600,000?
We did 487,000 for the year. Wow. But that's in a 6 month, we did 300 and something thousand in the first 6 months. And then 140 something thousand the other house. So it took us a little while. But then when we called steam, because we switched from doing in person, everything switched to online. So it took a little while to kind of gear that up. Right. But once we man, with webinars and with our virtual conferences and stuff, I mean, it just took off. Wow. And again, we just took the book and we just turned each chapter into modules. Wow. And so I know we're going to talk about that in another show, but yeah. If you have a book out there, I would say to the audience, you have a book out there, don't think of your book as a book. Think of it as a playbook. Okay. Because each chapter can become a module. Okay. And the other thing that we did, we would take different quotes and let's put them out there. We're gonna save it. We're gonna give them the cliffhanger. They have no choice but to come back if they want more information. Okay. So let's go here. I want to say this, that I definitely, as I said before, see you as a role model, a mentor, and I think that you definitely are a role model for me personally. But I'm saying, yes, sir. And I think for the audience and for the youth, this is an amazing story for young Black men, young Black women, young white men, young white women, for anybody that wants to take on the communication, entertainment, or the author, spaces in terms of the market. So I think you definitely are a role model on so many levels, and the humility to step down in church, to be transparent and talk to everybody and correct the ship, if you will, is a salute to you for that. Thank you. Thank you. And so now I think we want to do now, tell us about what do you see for the future and future books, and what do you want for the public, for those that may want to
travel down your path. And I definitely would right here and now publicly recommend that they go to your website. And if they need your services, which I think many will, uh, uh, definitely get in contact with you and go from there. But I'll let you speak in your own words. Whatever,
Yes.
the floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, it's always a pleasure. Whenever someone asks you back to speak or to share. So thank you, Brother Eric. These conversations, they go too fast. You know, they go so fast. And they're very, I mean, you ask questions that, like I said before, no one's ever asked me. They're deep questions, you know, they're not shallow questions. So I appreciate that. I would say this to those of you that are on the fence about writing a book, or you don't know how to write a book, or you're debating, you know, should I write a book? Or maybe you have a book, but you haven't figured out, how do I monetize it? Or how do I, you know, get book sales? I would say, think about it differently. As you mentioned earlier, Eric, if you're thinking about writing a book just to make sales, don't do it. Don't do it. It'll be empty. You may sell a lot of books, but at the end of the day, you're going to feel empty, especially if you're putting trash out there.
Right, right.
I believe that you write a book because you have a story that you want to share, or a different perspective on a story or a subject that's out there, and that your voice has the right to be heard. But not everyone is your audience. And so there's three things that I would strongly recommend, if I may. Number one is focus on what is the main question that your book or your story addresses. It can't be five, it can't be six. What is the number one main story? Like I said, my book, Focus-Driven Lifestyle, it focused on one thing: how to live a focus-driven lifestyle. The sub-points is distractions and procrastination. But the main point is how to live a focus-driven, because I believe focus drives everything in our life. Of what you focus on, you make a priority, and what you make a priority, you will do, because a priority is given preference over something else. The second key is to understand that you cannot do everything at once. And that's why you need to prioritize. And for me, I look at projects based on what is the looming question now. I'm, like I said, I got 10 books floating around in my head, all right? Not all of them will make it to paper, but they're floating around. And what I do is I sort of prioritize based on impact and importance. What's the impact of this book? So I ask myself two questions. What's the impact of this book? And how important is it for me to tell this story or to share my perspective? And I put it on a scale of 1 to 5. If it doesn't reach a 5, then I put it on the shelf. And then the third piece of advice is achieve. You have to start doing it. Every day you should be writing something. Every day I sit down and I might, now I use a lot of voice memos. It's a lot easier for me. I'll be in the car and I get an idea. If you just go to your memo and you may have an idea, I got an idea, and just speak into your app that idea, or you sit down or text yourself or email, just ideas. And once you get a number of different ideas, then it's about the process of formulating those ideas. But you have to start writing things down. How many times have people said, man, I had a great idea, I wish I would have wrote it down?
Right.
And I was just thinking, what was I thinking about? I should have wrote it down. We've all have done that.
That's true.
You wake up at night, always keep a voice memo or a pad near your bed, because some of your greatest ideas will come either in the bathroom or at night. I've waken at night.
3 o'clock in the morning. 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes. 3 o'clock in the morning with an idea.
Right.
And I keep something by my bed, if it's nothing more than my phone, and I do a voice memo, because I know if I wait, I'm going to lose it. To reach out to me is real simple. All my contact, emails and everything, just simply go to Lyman360.com.
Okay.
Lyman, Lyman lyman360.com.
Yeah.
And you can see my videos, you can see my books, and you can connect with me. So connect with me at lyman360.com. That's the easiest way.
Absolutely. And I want people to know we're entering the holiday phase, the holiday era, whatever. So I'm definitely going to ask him off screen that if in this particular body of he may send me the names of the books that he wants to promote, that they can directly go and get this for your mother, for yourself, especially, you know, you saw he had so much success doing COVID. So something is resonating, something is special, and we're still in COVID. So I want everybody to get a chance to take advantage and get some of his books. And you know, if you want to get 2 or 3 for mom, if you want to get one for dad, one for you know, for your pastor, some type of present. We're in the holiday season coming up, and you just want to go ahead and get that out the way and get that present. This is definitely the author that you want to know more about. And we'll talk, I mean, we'll talk briefly off screen about some more videos that would be helpful. But I think that we really got an opportunity to this was really, you know, this is American Authors and Others, but this was like meet the author. and that is not all the time you see a book, you know, in a bookstore, or you see it on the Amazon or whatever, and you see a picture and they have a little something in the back talking about the author, but you really got to view and hear him in his own words, and some things that were completely positive, and some things that may not be, you know, the best light, but he was transparent. So apparently that goes in his books as well. That if he's able to do it on camera, I think he's able to do it in his books. And he sold so many books. So yeah, we're going to put his information in, and I just say at this time, thank you for coming out again this time, and we'll definitely work to do some more things and public. Unbelievable. The word to say for this, and I'm 52, but he's 54. I'm gonna say for this young man is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Till next time, look for us again on American Authors and Others. Subscribe, like, and share, and in particular share this wonderful story of power and prosperity and triumph. Till next time, we'll say bye-bye to everybody. You can say bye-bye too. Just
goodbye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Have a nice one, public. Okay.